There is an astonishing and depressing conspiracy between the mainstream media and the new socialist Labour government to cover up the truth and suppress discussion about what is really causing the streets of Britain to be so unsafe that 11 young girls are stabbed, 3 fatally, at a Taylor Swift dance class. I just can't get my head around the story of the Southport massacre becoming completely eclipsed in just a couple of days, with the elites now obsessed with using it to launch another censorship campaign about disinformation while deploying the usual tropes about the far right. But this is really happening, and I believe it's sinister. It's an attempt to shut down a real debate about mass immigration and the failure of multiculturalism. So yesterday, Slippery Starmer held his first press conference since Monday's Southport massacre. You'd think he'd be asked all about that, right? But no. The media, without fail, was on message, and I've got the receipts. First up, Woke ITV.
Prime Minister, Shihab Khan from ITV News. Prime Minister, how do you stop the far right from hijacking issues, especially when so many members of those groups often say they are being influenced by charismatic leaders who are often pushing for the division that you say that you want to tackle? And a second quick question, if I may. British Muslims up and down the country will have seen these riots or demonstrations, whatever you like to call them, unfold. They've seen mosques get attacked. They've watched as shops have been looted. There have been chants which some would say are grossly offensive. Partly this has happened because of misinformation. They now say they feel unsafe. What is your message to the British Muslim community, and what are you willing to do to make sure they feel safe in their own home?
Then Sly News.
Forces. You've said no to extra police powers, but what about banning some of these far-right groups, as Angela Rayner has suggested?
Next, the establishment newspaper, The Times.
Aubrey from The Times.
Thank you, Prime Minister. You said that violent disorder is being whipped up online. What are you going to do to combat that spread of disinformation? Are you going to haul in social media companies? Could you restart the rapid rebuttal unit in Whitehall? And what is your message to Nigel Farage, who obviously asked this week whether the truth is being withheld? Do you think that was responsible for anything?
That was followed by the hard-left Guardian.
Rowena Mason from The Guardian. Nigel Farage is the leader of Reform. He did very well, obviously, in the election, and he's been accused of spreading conspiracy theories about the Southport tragedy and his response to it. Is it enough to say that you just won't comment on what he's said, given that some people, including a former police chief, have linked his comments to the violence that broke out in the riot?
And it was rounded up with a further push for censorship by the phone-hacking Daily Mirror.
Thank you. And I've got John from the Mirror.
Hello, thank you. What consequences will there be if social media firms do fail to take action?
Thank you. And I've got John.
You can't make this stuff up. Did you notice? Not one question about why we now have a climate where our children are not safe at a Taylor Swift dance class. Not one question about the issues caused in this country by mass immigration, by a lack of assimilation, and by a failure of multiculturalism. Not one question. But as the opposition Conservatives shy away from this debate too, thank God the unofficial leader of the opposition refused to back down.
So the Prime Minister tonight reacting to what has happened over the course of the last 48 hours. His conclusion very